What I've learned is that a producer finds and attracts very talented people, and a producer creates an environment, and then a producer gets the hell out of the way.
The cool thing about people that are into film and cinema is they all have a common idea and a common goal, and they all have that passion, that drive. And what's interesting about what we did was, not a lot of people knew a lot of other people, so it was kind of like everyone merged together. And to me, it was beautiful the way we all worked as if we worked together for long periods of time. I mean, the synergy was perfect.
It was almost like we were able to handpick the best from Michigan.
48-Hour Film Project is a project where you're given a task to make a film in 48 hours. Now with this, there's also certain elements that you have to incorporate in your film. So in addition to having to rush through and make a film in 48 hours, which is a tremendous task, you also have to be mindful of guidelines. It's not just make whatever you want to make. Now with us, we had to pick a genre, and like everyone else, everyone had to pick a genre out of the hat.
People have been tossing around the idea of using Theater Bazaar, which is an excellent location. I had actually been hoping that we would get something along the lines of horror, thriller, suspense. That was the only thing I could see that would really work well there.
There had to be a certain character in your film, and that character had to be a painter, and then the name of that character had to be Liam Butler or Leanne Butler. So that was one element that we had to incorporate in the film. Another element we had to incorporate in the film was the line,
"Why don't you explain it to me?"
That was the line that had to be featured in the movie somewhere. And there also had to be a prop, which was a book. So you take all those elements and you take the time factor that has to take place, and you go at it 100%, and you got 48 hours to complete it and deliver it. And I think there was 40 teams this year in Detroit that were on the project and went right by those guidelines to finish their film.
Your time is against you. So time is ticking, the clock is ticking. And without those people making sure that they are helping you, like boom, 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 you're screwed.
If you're going to have a very good and creative product, you've got to have the contribution of a team of people. One of the great things I like about filmmaking is it is a collaborative medium.
Well, I knew we were making something special on Saturday when I was seeing the footage that we got, see Clark working with his DP. So I thought it was good, but really only until I saw the rough cut did I think it was like really, really good.
Some of the surprising contributions came from people that I didn't know as well. I think an unsung hero was Kevin Wilt, who is a PhD candidate at Michigan State in composition and just did wonderful music.
1F, take one.
Down. Rob, you got it? 1F, take one.
Yep.
Okay.
Action.
Clark Eagling, the director and the sound editor, I've worked with, and Connie Mangilin and Mike Zawacki.
But I haven't worked with our editor, Rob Fertucci, our DP, Matt Matarazzi, and our second AD, Jibby. Working with Matt and Rob was a very good experience.
Roberto Fertucci just blew everybody away with his cut.
It was really incredible, when we came in on Sunday morning and watched his rough editor's cut and saw how much he had done in that space in that amount of time. And I can't think of any other editor in Michigan right now that could have done the same thing.
So much nicer working with an editor that doesn't need to be told all the time what needs to go here, what needs to go there, how this should look. When he's telling me how things should look, and I actually trust his judgment, and it's nice.
Matthew Matarazzi was a great DP. He has a very good eye for what works and what doesn't.
Composing the shots, making it up as you go along, but clearly seeing the whole, and that was just amazing to watch.
He got shots very quickly. There was never any point where You know, the performance of the actors was perfect, but there was a camera issue that was keeping it from being a good take.
We had a really good story to tell.
The story has to be king. Having Nancy on our team as the writer, it was great in that sense because she writes for a living. So how can you lose? You know what I mean?
She's one of those people who reminds us that all the greatest production value in the world isn't worth much if you don't have a good story to tell. We sat around the table, started throwing out ideas, talking about characters, and perhaps talking a little bit about a plot arc. And then Nancy picked up her Mac PowerBook, left the room, and less than a half hour later came back with a 9-page script with a plot arc that had a beginning, a middle, and an end.
You know, the cast was once again something that fell into our laps. We got very lucky with the people who showed up. The lead actress, Libertine, does slam poetry, and so she came in, it was her and I in a room, and she just recited one of her poems, and I saw how much energy she could put forth, and the poem she read went through all this huge gamut of emotions from elation to anger and back again, and I knew she was perfect, and she definitely has the look.
We used, particularly Libertine and Jimmy Doom, just were right spot on with their performances.
I'm pleased that Libertine really, really stepped up and just delivered a very, very strong performance.
I think that we had good actors.
The little girl that you took.
Libertine and Jimmy.
You ready to go to the theater? You gonna help Daddy paint some clowns?
I think Jimmy Doom was good, but I didn't know he was that good.
Also Rob Young.
Look, I'll send a man out to interview you after he's done talking to the 24 other eyewitnesses that we've heard from today.
And Brittany, she held her own.
She did an excellent job of, she had to be carried by a scary-looking tattooed man with long, greasy hair and thrown into a car. She had to act like he was her father after that. She had to, run screaming and see her father who had just been killed. This is a lot to ask of any child actor.
Every element was professional. There was no amateur bits and pieces anywhere. It flowed like a real film. All the little elements like sound, picture, quality, story, acting, it all was very realistic and it was very effective. There was nothing that obstructed from the story in terms of quality, because quality was there, 100%.
It's usually amateurs who are trying to put a movie together in 2 days, not the other way around.
From the cameraman, cinematographer, Matthew Materazzi, who is very, very particular on his shots and he's very, very visionary, to Clark Eagling, who is such an eloquent director, and the way he directed was so eloquent, considering the time that we had and all the pressures. He stayed cool and he stayed very professional and he got perfect stuff out of it.
Amy and Sean and Mike and the Grips and Jibby and Rob Young and Yusuf and Rob Fertucci. It was a pleasure working with these people.
All the grips and the producers and the locations that we were able to get access to through Connie.
She's got so much pull in this town, it's ridiculous. She knows everybody, and we wanted to get into the Dime Building. We got into the Dime Building. We wanted to go to Theater Bazaar. We got into Theater Bazaar. So there's nowhere that she can't go, I don't think.
It's all collaborative. I mean, you're talking locations from Connie, you're talking cinematography from Matt, you're talking actors who know what they're doing and they're directed by a great director.
To me, film is more than just something that's enjoyable as a hobby. It's more than something that's just looked at as artwork. To me, film has the power to influence cultures, persuade minds throughout the whole society, and it's got the power to change people's minds about certain things. That's what I think about film. That's how seriously I take it. And to be a part of a group of people that think the same way, you can't put it into words. I mean, I loved it.